We're reacting to the video, Jealousy Motivates Me, Is It Wrong?
Let's get into the video.
Sadhguru, jealousy is always considered as a really cynical emotion. But to be honest, for me, it has worked so well.
What did you get to do?
It motivates me. So every time my friend learns something new, I just get this innate urge to perform better. And it's probably why I've landed up in my dream college. So, do you think that jealousy is actually a negative emotion, or does it motivate you to do better?
See, these days, fortunately, it's gone. When we were growing up, especially Diwali is coming, when Diwali comes, in small towns, one of the fun that people have is, they will make a can full of, the firecrackers and tie it to a donkey's tail. When it goes dum-dum-dum, poor donkey runs all over the place faster than a horse. You think that's the way to motivate life? There are better and more intelligent ways of doing things. Well, when you feel like your tail is burning, you may run. People always use this thing, if a dog is chasing you, you will run really fastest. But Mr. Bolt, you know Mr. Bolt? He did not run because his tail is on fire. He runs because he prepared his legs and lungs in such a way, whichever way he runs, he is faster than everybody. Hello? Isn't that the way to run? You want to run because a dog is chasing you, you want to run because your tail is on fire, is that the way you want to run? No, that's not a pleasant way to run. See, one thing is important that you run fast. Another thing is that your experience of running is fantastic. Isn't that important? Hello? Well, you got into your dream college, but it could be hell, 3 years of hell, who knows? Is it not important that these 3 years are a fantastic experience for you? Huh? Not important? Running is not the only important thing. How you experience it, what comes out of it tomorrow. Suppose we ran because our tail is on fire, now we understand the only way to make people run is to set their tails on fire. How much damage we will cause to everybody? And I've seen these donkeys running faster than a racehorse because they're terrified. That's not the way to run. Please don't do that to yourself, not anymore, okay?
That was a cool video. Lily, what are your first thoughts?
Well, I think I kind of relate to the girl that was in it, saying like she feels like jealousy motivated her to get into a good college. Like, I don't know if it's jealousy for me, but I do feel like the less judgmental I got, the less like tough on myself I got, like the less like the less high achievements I started like going through, if you know what I'm talking about. Like, I used to be a really high achiever, but I was also kind of hard on myself. And looking back, now that I'm not so hard on myself, I feel like it wasn't always such a bad thing. I feel like people look at like sadness or disappointment or like being critical as a bad thing, and I personally don't always think it's a bad thing. I just think it's a bad thing if that's the only thing you feel. Like if you continue to achieve things and you're like, it's never good enough and it's never good enough. Like kind of like getting money. Like as you get rich, it's like, it's never enough, but what are you doing with all that money? It's not making you any happier. But yeah, I don't think it's always a bad thing to have negative emotions in your life.
Well, that is a very interesting perspective, Lily. I do appreciate you sharing that, and it definitely got me reflecting because I was sort of just taking that in as you were sharing your review of that, and that is interesting. So you basically said that it's not always a negative thing to have negative emotion.
Yes.
And I think that's great to hear because especially for a lot of people, it's not that easy to switch off the negative emotion, right? And I think what's super important is to learn to accept and deal with those emotions, right? There's no magic wand. And so, yes, with enough practice, whether it's through breath work or mental exercises, meditation even, you can almost get to a place where you're not really that stressed, but at the same time, it doesn't happen overnight, right? It takes practice, takes consistency, dedication. So I do like that very practical view that you had. And adding on to what he was sharing in the video, I definitely connect because there's also this quote I've heard recently, which was the idea that often the path to hell is paved with the best of intention, right? And if you think about a lot of the evils of the world that have happened, people are doing it with quote-unquote good intentions, right? And so then it's a question of, does intention really matter? And I don't think it really does, right? I think what matters the most is ultimately how you're doing what you're doing. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, the way you said that like intention doesn't matter. I feel like there's a lot of people that don't have great intentions, but they still like the end result is good. Like I'm thinking like companies, most companies are just trying to make money, even if they're environmental companies. But since that's what people want, like they're still doing something good for the environment because they know that that will, in the end, bring them money. So even though their intentions aren't good, like they're doing something good in the end.
That's, again, a great point as well. I mean, I wouldn't say personally that intention doesn't matter at all. I just think I feel like a lot of people overvalue intention and they're like, oh, I had the good intention. So, you know what, I hurt you or I did this, I did that. It doesn't matter. But no, I think you got to take responsibility for what you do, how you do it. And sure, intention can help. I mean, you know, they have even in the crime list, right, of like different degrees or whatever based off your intention, right? I'm no expert in the law, but just from what I've heard. But yeah, overall, that was, I think, a great video. Very practical, right? Try to give your all. I think the ultimate message I connected with was when trying to achieve something, give your all and make sure you're as prepared as possible. And just be conscious about competition. And I think the best thing is focus on yourself, right? The best competition should be yourself. Are you smarter today than you were yesterday? Are you stronger today than you were yesterday? It doesn't matter who's around you. That's ultimately what matters. Any other closing thoughts?
Yes, actually about competition, something that I personally, this is just me personally, okay? But when I'm competing with myself, sometimes it's like I don't progress as fast. This is just completely against everything that, like the path that you're going on, but I feel like if I look over to someone else and I'm like, oh, they're doing that, I could probably do that. So I feel like if I feel the competition, I could more like just jump to it because I'm like, they're doing it, I can do it, I got this.
That's, again, another great perspective. I know you have a slightly different take, but I also love that because honestly, at the end of the day, it comes down to, I think, how you're feeling internally, right? So if you're able to use the other things as motivation, that's perfectly fine. I think that's perfect, right? But if you're letting that harm you, then that's where the issue is. And the same thing applies technically to yourself, right? If you're, let's say, not better than yesterday and you're harming yourself, you're like beating yourself over because of that, that's also not that great. So I love that. I think you made me realize some new things too. Thank you so much for being on. And I want to thank you for watching. I know it's been a while since I've uploaded on this channel, so feel free to comment down below any other reaction videos you want me to react to. Thank you again, Lily, for being on. You did great. With that, make this a great day. Take it joyful and stay conscious. You did great. Awesome job.
Okay, thank you.